A life of responsibilities. Jack's story begins in a modest, sunlit house nestled on the outskirts of a quiet town, where the air carried the faint scent of wildflowers and the distant hum of village life. It was here, in this humble home, that Jack was raised by his mother, Mrs. Loy, a woman whose strength was as unyielding as the ancient trees lining their street. His father had passed away when Jack was just a boy, leaving behind a void that Mrs. Loy filled with tireless devotion. She worked long hours, sewing by candlelight, tending to neighbors' gardens, and taking on any job she could find to ensure Jack never went without. Her hands, roughened by years of labor, were a silent testament to her sacrifices, yet her smile remained warm, a beacon of hope in their simple life. From his earliest memories, Jack absorbed the lessons his mother taught him: respect for others, the dignity of hard work, and the quiet power of kindness. He could still picture her sitting beside him under the dim glow of an oil lamp, her voice steady as she guided his small fingers across the pages of a worn book. "Knowledge will lift you up, Jack," she'd say, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. "It's the one thing no one can take away." Those words planted a seed in Jack's heart, a dream to rise above their circumstances and build a life that would honor her unwavering love. Now, years later, Jack stood at the cusp of that dream. After toiling in construction, saving every spare coin, and sketching plans late into the night, he was ready to launch his own business, a workshop dedicated to home design and renovation. He envisioned a place where craftsmanship met beauty, where every project bore the mark of his dedication. Yet, amidst this ambition, another person held a vital place in his life: Li Tien. Li Tien was a woman of quiet grace, her spirit as resilient as the bamboo that swayed in her garden. She had grown up in a rural village, where life moved with the rhythm of the seasons, planting in spring, harvesting in fall, and finding peace in the stillness of winter. Unlike Jack, whose eyes were fixed on the horizon of success, Li Tien found joy in the small, tender moments: the feel of soil beneath her nails, the aroma of herbs simmering on the stove, the satisfaction of a home well kept. Her hands, too, told a story, stained with earth yet gentle as they coaxed life from the ground. Their love was a delicate dance of contrasts. Jack admired her serenity, her ability to find contentment where he saw only steps to climb. Li Tien, in turn, respected his relentless drive, his refusal to settle for less than he believed possible. Together, they formed a bond that was deep and unshakable, a union of two souls from different worlds, tethered by mutual devotion. March 8th, a day of gratitude, a gift for his mother. The morning of March 8th arrived with a soft breeze, carrying the promise of spring through the open windows of Jack's home. It was International Women's Day, and Jack had woken early, his heart alight with purpose. Today, he would honor the two women who shaped his world. For his mother, he had chosen a handbag, a piece both elegant and timeless, its fine stitching a reflection of her enduring strength. It wasn't lavish, but it was thoughtful, a symbol of his gratitude for the woman who had given him everything. As he walked the familiar path to her house, the crunch of gravel beneath his feet mingled with the chorus of birdsong. Memories flooded his mind. The nights she'd stayed awake to nurse him through fevers, her cool hands pressed against his forehead. The mornings she'd sent him off to school with a packed lunch and a whispered prayer for his success. Today, he wanted her to feel seen, not just as his mother, but as the extraordinary woman she was. He found her in the garden, seated on a wooden bench, a cup of tea cradled in her hands. The morning sun painted her silver hair with a gentle glow, and for a moment, Jack simply watched, struck by her quiet beauty. "Mom," he called softly, stepping forward. She turned, her face breaking into a smile that deepened the lines around her eyes. "Jack, you're up early." He held out the gift, wrapped in simple paper adorned with a ribbon. "Happy International Women's Day, Mom. This is for you, for everything you've done for me." Her hands trembled slightly as she took the package, unwrapping it with care. When the handbag emerged, she gasped, her fingers tracing its smooth surface. "Oh, Jack, this is stunning," she exclaimed, her voice thick with emotion. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did," he replied, his grin wide and boyish. "You deserve it." She laughed, a sound like music, and pulled him into a brief, fierce hug. "You've always had a good eye," she said, then tilted her head. "And Li Tien? What did you get for her?" "A bracelet," Jack answered, his thoughts drifting to the woman who held his heart. "Something to remind her I'm always there, even when work pulls me away." His mother nodded, her gaze warm and knowing. "You're a good son, Jack, and a good man. Never forget to cherish the ones who stand by you." Her words settled over him like a blessing, a reminder of the balance he strove to maintain. A heartfelt gift for Li Tien. As dusk painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jack made his way to Li Tien's home. He found her where she was happiest, in the garden, kneeling among rows of vegetables, her hands buried in the rich, dark soil. She was lost in her task, her movements precise and tender, as if coaxing the earth to bloom. "Jack," she called out, startled, brushing dirt from her hands as she stood. "What brings you here so late?" He smiled, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "Happy International Women's Day, Tien. I wanted to give you something special." Her eyes widened as she took the box, her fingers leaving faint smudges of earth on its surface. She opened it slowly, revealing a silver bracelet adorned with a single charm engraved with their initials. A soft gasp escaped her lips. "Jack, this is beautiful," she whispered, tears shimmering in her eyes. "It's too much." He stepped closer, taking her hands in his, heedless of the soil that now dusted his palms. "It's not enough, Tien. You've been my rock, always there through every late night and every crazy idea. This is just a small piece of how much you mean to me." She blinked rapidly, a tear slipping down her cheek, and offered a tremulous smile. "No one's ever done anything like this for me before." "Then it's about time someone did," he said, pulling her into his arms. Her warmth, the faint scent of lavender and earth, grounded him. "I want you to always feel loved," he murmured against her hair. They stood there as the twilight deepened, wrapped in a quiet moment that spoke louder than words. Challenges on the horizon. Though their love was a steady flame, Jack and Li Tien's lives were pulling them in different directions. Jack's ambition burned brighter with each passing day. He spent hours sketching designs, meeting suppliers, and scouting locations for his workshop, a place where he could craft homes as unique as the dreams of those who lived in them. Li Tien, however, thrived in the stillness of her routine, her days woven with the threads of gardening, cooking, and the comfort of familiarity. One night, beneath a canopy of stars, Jack shared his latest plans. "I've been looking for the perfect spot to open the workshop," he said, his voice alive with excitement. "It's a big leap, but I can feel it's the right one." Li Tien gazed at him, her eyes catching the starlight. "I know you'll make it amazing, Jack. You always do." She paused, then added quietly, "But will it mean even less time together?" Her question hung between them, delicate and heavy. Jack reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "It might at first, but I'll always come back to you. I promise." She nodded, though a shadow of unease flickered across her face. She wanted to believe him, to trust that their love could weather his growing dreams. But doubt crept in, a whisper she couldn't silence. As the weeks unfolded, Jack's workload intensified. He traveled to distant towns, inspecting properties and negotiating deals, returning home with weary eyes and a mind still racing. Li Tien felt his absence keenly, though she hid it behind smiles and warm meals. She tended her garden alone, pouring her longing into the earth, hoping it might somehow bridge the gap widening between them. One evening, Jack stumbled through the door, exhaustion etched into every line of his body. He sank onto the porch beside her, his head resting in his hands. "You're pushing yourself too hard," she said, her voice soft with concern. He looked up, taking her hand in his. "I just want to build something we can be proud of, Tien. Something that lasts, for us." Her heart ached at his words, torn between pride and fear. "I am proud of you," she said, her smile bittersweet. "Just don't lose yourself in it." He nodded, pulling her close, but the unspoken question lingered. Could their love endure the strain of his ambition? A test of faith. Months later, Jack's persistence bore fruit. He found the ideal location for his workshop, a charming building in a vibrant city, its wide windows promising light and inspiration. But the opportunity came with a cost. He would need to relocate temporarily to oversee its launch. That night, he gathered his mother and Li Tien around the dinner table, the air thick with the scent of steaming rice and herbs. He took a deep breath, his hands clasped tightly. "I've found the perfect place," he said, "but it means moving to the city for a few months." His mother studied him, her gaze steady and wise. "Dreams demand sacrifice, Jack," she said, "but never forget what anchors you. Success is empty without love." He turned to Li Tien, his heart pounding. "Tien, what do you think?" She traced the rim of her cup, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll support you, Jack. Always. But I'll miss you more than I can say." Her words pierced him, a reminder of the life they'd built together. He couldn't bear the thought of leaving her behind, of their days stretching into lonely nights. After a long, heavy silence, he made a decision. "Then come with me," he said, his voice firm with resolve. "I don't want to do this without you." Her eyes widened, a storm of emotions swirling within them. "Jack, I don't know if I can leave everything behind. I know it's a lot," he pressed, leaning closer. "But we can build something new together. A home, a life, ours." Tears glistened on her lashes as she wrestled with the choice. The village was her sanctuary, its rhythms etched into her soul. Yet Jack was her heart, her compass. She thought of her garden, her quiet days, then of the man before her, his eyes pleading for a shared future. And in that moment, she understood. Home wasn't bound to a place, it was bound to him. "Okay," she said at last, her voice trembling but sure. "Let's do it together." A new dawn. With their decision made, Jack and Li Tien stepped into the unknown, hand in hand. They packed their lives into boxes, bid tearful farewells to the village, and set out for the city. Mrs. Loy watched them go, her heart swelling with pride, knowing her son had found not just success, but a love to carry him through. The city greeted them with a rush of sound and motion, a world apart from the stillness they'd known. Jack threw himself into the workshop, his days filled with the clatter of tools and the thrill of creation. Li Tien carved out a new space for herself, planting herbs on their balcony and weaving warmth into their small apartment. There were struggles, nights when Jack worked late, moments when Li Tien longed for the village's embrace. But each evening, they returned to each other, sharing quiet dinners and soft laughter, rebuilding their bond amidst the chaos. One evening, they stood before the finished workshop, its sign gleaming with Jack's name. He took her hand, his voice a whisper against the hum of the city. "This is just the beginning." And so it was, a beginning forged from love, resilience, and the courage to chase dreams together. From different worlds, they had woven a single story, one of gratitude, sacrifice, and an unbreakable promise to face the future as one.